So once again, thank you very much, Principal Sir, for giving me this opportunity. So as you can see on your screens right now, the title of the session is there, Application and Selection of Computer-Aided Drug Designing Techniques in the Process of Drug Discovery or Drug Development. So allow me to build up a plot for the session so that you can get a clear understanding of what different things we are going to get and we are going to talk about in this particular session. So you might have heard about techniques like QSAR and docking and dynamics and virtual screening. Well, these things look quite fascinating. They look quite exciting, but there is a bit of issue in selecting these techniques. So I'll give you an example. I'll build up my plot with the help of an example. So consider yourself that you're in a market for buying a four-wheeler. And there are different categories of four-wheelers. You can have an hatchback, there are compact sedans, there are SUVs, compact SUVs, and so on. And there are different varieties of four-wheelers available in the market. But which one will you select? That depends upon your requirement, what kind of vehicle you want. If you belong to the automotive industry, if you have a good knowledge of vehicles, then it won't be a very difficult task for you in order to select a vehicle, a perfect vehicle for you. But if you are a person who don't have knowledge of vehicles, who do not belong to automotive industry, then selecting a particular vehicle will be a challenging task to you. Now, why am I saying this? Because I have been following this faculty development program since the very first day. And I have observed that there are faculties who belong to different specializations. And let me just explain that example once again. So if you consider the same example, in this example that I quoted, different varieties of vehicles, different categories of vehicles are nothing but different categories, different techniques which are used in computer-aided drug design. The person who is going to buy the vehicle is nothing but the researcher. And as I said, if you belong to the automotive industry, that means if you belong to the background of chemistry, then selecting a particular technique will not be a very difficult thing for you. But as I said, most of the faculties, they belong to different specializations. So for them to select a particular computer-aided drug designing technique is a bit it is a bit difficult part. And therefore I want to discuss this thing so that everyone, let me quote a statement that after this session, each and every one of us will be able to perform computer-aided drug designing techniques. If I make such a statement, then I will be wrong. I'll be lying actually. And instead, if I make a statement that after this session, each and everyone will be having a clear understanding of which different techniques can be selected under different circumstances, under different conditions of your research. If I quote such a statement, then it won't be a wrong statement at all. And therefore, in this particular session, I am not going to dig into any particular technique, and I am going to overall explain under which circumstances, which other kinds of techniques can be selected. So as I said, the people here belong to different specializations, but we share the same aim, and the aim is to improve the healthcare system. And we work in very narrow windows. We work in our areas of specialization. So if I say that I belong to pharmaceutical chemistry background, and if I say that I alone can design or develop a drug, then it won't be possible for me. And when I say that designing a drug, then I mean from the scratch, from nothing to entry of that molecule into the market. I might design, I might synthesize that drug, but in order to carry out its biological activity, I'll have to rely on a pharmacologist. Similarly, even if I get assessment of biological activity, then to convert that molecule into a drug form, I'll have to depend upon a person who belongs to pharmaceutics. Or the other way, which is possible, that I should get the knowledge of pharmacology or pharmaceutics. And therefore, what we do in our research, we do collaborative research in order to widen our window of work. And therefore, having understanding of other disciplines is very important thing to have, so that you become able to take proper decisions in the process of research. So as you can see, there are different techniques mentioned over there, like there is protein designing, there is molecular docking, molecular dynamics, and so on. But in a period of in an hour and two, it won't be possible to learn any of these techniques completely. So what am I up to in this particular session? So I'm going to talk about 4 Ws of computer-aided drug designing. I'm going to talk about what different techniques and what different methods are there that you can can be covered under the umbrella of computer-aided drug designing, and what these techniques actually are, what these methods are, when is a particular method is selected, and where is it applied. So we are going to talk about all these 4 Ws. So if I say that welcome to the time of tailored drug, or welcome to the time of tailored drugs, so it won't be a wrong statement, because we are literally tailoring our drugs. We are literally designing our drugs as per our requirements. And for doing that, we use different techniques, and those are the techniques that we are going to talk about in a few minutes. So it won't be possible. I mean, if I'm talking about CAD and I don't define the CAD, and not going through any bookish definition, if you simply try to understand what CAD is, what computer aided or computer assisted drug designing is, then it is simply application or use of computer based techniques, computer based softwares for 2 purposes. One, to accelerate, to speed up the process of drug discovery or drug designing, and simultaneously to bring about the procedure, precision in the complete process. So I'll give you an example of that. If you consider yourself to be in early 19th century or even period before that, so what was the major methods to identify a drug molecule and to work on a drug molecule? So you can see there are some techniques. You can either go for extraction, then isolation, or separation, then purification, and the next possible thing was to go for biological activity. That is the actually scheme that present at that particular point of time. So if consider yourself in 19th century and you want to deliver or you want to design a drug for malaria, so how would you do that? So I rely at that time on ethnopharmacological sources. So from that I came to know that cinchona alkaloids are there which can be used as an anti-malarial. So if I want to develop a drug from cinchona alkaloids, how would I be able to do that? So the only possible option to me was I'll go for the extraction of the bark, then I'll separate or I'll isolate the different components that I get from the extract, then I'll purify, and ultimately I'll go for the checking of biological activity. Now consider if I get 8 different molecules after extraction, if I get 8 different components after extraction, now to find out which one exactly is useful in anti-malarial activity, in order to find out, I'll have to check all those 8 molecules individually. Now, it is going to take a lot of time, it is going to take a lot of effort, it is going to take a lot of money. So at that time, I were in a need of a technique. I was thinking about something, or we were actually thinking about something that would it not be a good effort that I get some technique or some method which let me know that out of these 8 components, which can be the most promising compound, which can be, or a technique which can predict out of these 8 ones which is actually responsible for showing anti-malarial activity, so that I won't have to go for biological testing of all the 8 molecules one by one. Instead of that, if I already get a prediction which one amongst all those 8 compounds is going to be active, I will go for direct biological checking or biological activity of one of those compounds. So this actually is the reason of computer-aided drug designing, why it was actually implemented. Now, we'll move to the next thing. Before going upon these different techniques of computer-aided drug designing, when we talk about computer-aided drug designing, we also come across a term which is called as molecular modeling. Now, what exactly the molecular modeling is? Again, I'm not going through any bookish definition. I'll try to simplify it as possible to me. What will be molecular modeling? So if I talk about structure of receptor, if I talk about the structure of the drug molecule, if I talk about the interaction of drug and the receptor, then obviously I'll have to visualize these structures. I need a method where I can visualize the protein, where
Hello, Ramesh sir. Ramesh sir, you are not audible.
You unmute his mic.
Sir, his mic is on.
No.
Hello.
Sir, his mic. Yes, yes. His
Now
mic is
Am I
unmuted.
audible to you right now?
Yeah, right now you are audible.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what suddenly happened. So please let me know at what point I became, my voice went off. So I was talking about molecular modeling techniques. Hello, can you hear me right now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if I talk about computer-aided drug designing techniques, then and if I talk about designing a drug based upon the structure of a receptor or based upon the structure of a ligand molecule, then I will have to visualize them because it is not possible for me to isolate a protein or to see a ligand with the naked eyes, and I can not see and I cannot do these techniques with naked eye. So I need a method to visualize these molecules on a computer screen. And the technique with which we get or we gain the 3D structures, or we generate the 3D structures of these molecules in order to study or evaluate their structures and their properties. Such a technique is called as molecular modeling. Okay, I'm repeating this thing. This is simply a technique with the help of obviously a software, with the help of which I generate a 3D system. And in that 3D system, I can study different properties, and I can evaluate the structure of the biomolecule like proteins or DNAs or RNAs, or I can also go through the properties of a ligand. And this simply is called as molecular modeling. So it is nothing but a computational process. Okay, and under that process there are different techniques. So how do we get a model, or how do we get a structure on our screen? So these softwares, they are basically dependent on two mathematical approaches. One of them is called as molecular mechanics, and the other one is called as quantum mechanics. Now actually I wanted uh, uh, to to demonstrate this part, and we'll have this demonstrate in the next session. So I'm going to skip this part for a while. So just remember this thing, that in order to get the 3D structures of receptors or the 3D structures of ligand, we use softwares, and these softwares are based upon algorithms. These softwares are based upon some mathematical techniques, and the major two techniques are quantum mechanics, which is based upon quantum physics, and the other one technique which is called is as it is the molecular mechanics. And I'll exactly tell you in the later session in demonstration that how exactly a molecule is built up on the screen of computer. So skipping it for a while and moving to the next topic. So when I talk about selecting a particular technique, I also need to know what are different approaches for drug designing. So there are basically, majorly there are two approaches. One is called as structure based drug designing, and the other one is called as ligand based drug designing. Structure based drug designing is also referred as direct drug designing. In simple words, when I actually design a drug based upon the structure of the receptor directly, that thing is called as structure based drug design. But if I don't have the structure of the ligand, if I don't have the structure of the receptor, then I'll have to completely rely upon the existing molecules and the structure of existing molecules. So when I try to perform drug discovery with on the basis of earlier existing molecules, and I don't have the structure of receptor, that technique or that approach of designing a new drug is called as ligand based drug designing. And I'll explain it to you. Now if you can see, hello.
yeah, continue.
Okay. Now, if you can see out there on your screen, there are different techniques, and we'll talk about these techniques one by one. So we'll start with the protein modeling or protein designing, which is called as homology modeling, one of the best techniques of computer-aided drug designing, and it's very interesting as well. So this technique of protein designing, actually the term came after we went through the knowledge of drug receptor interactions. So once we came to know that there is a receptor kind of thing which is present in our body, and my drug is actually going to act on that receptor, so the complete direction of drug designing was shifted towards receptor. Before that, as I said, we were completely based upon the molecules. Our total intention, total focus, total target was the small molecules. But once we came to know that there are receptor kind of things, there are biomolecules on which our drugs go and they act, then complete target, the complete direction shifted towards the receptors. And I'll give you an example of that. For example, consider you are going to buy a sofa for a friend of you. You're going to buy a sofa for a friend of you. Now there are two things. You go to the market, you select a sofa and gift it to your friend. In this case, what may happen, what there are chances that the sofa might not fit into his house if you have never been into his house before. And the second approach is go to his house, see the structure of his house, and then go to the market and select a particular sofa. So in the second category, obviously I'll go for the second category, because in the second category, the chances of failure are less, because whatever the sofa I am going to select will be perfect as per the structure of his house or his hall or his living room, whatever it is. So that thing is nothing but the structure based drug designing. So in this particular case, the friend of my house is nothing but the receptor, and that sofa is nothing but the ligand. So in this case, when I talk about structure based drug designing in protein modeling, I try to study the structure of receptor. I hope this point is clear. So once I want the structure of receptor, what are the different methods with which I can get the structure of receptor? So obviously I'll have to find the structure of receptor. Now there are two types of techniques. One is called as physical or experimental technique, and the other one is the computational technique. And let me remind you one, that experimental, the structures of the receptors which have been obtained or which are obtained by experimental methods are accepted to a wider range as compared to the structures that we have generated. So whenever you are going to perform the CAT techniques like docking or virtual screening, try to get the structure which is which you obtained by experimental methods like X-ray crystallography or NMR spectroscopy. So as I was saying that there are two basic methods to obtain the structure. One is the physical or experimental method, another one is the computational method. So physical method depends upon two major techniques. One is called as the X-ray crystallography and the other one is called as NMR spectroscopy. So we already have gone through a number of X-rays, and that those X-rays, they actually give us the idea of the structure of our bone, of our skeleton. In the same way, X-ray crystallography gives us the idea of the protein, gives us the idea of the receptor, its amino acids, the arrangement of amino acids, its conformations. And therefore, the physical, as I said, the structures which have been obtained through physical techniques are preferred more because they are the real existing structures. But there are some situations when I cannot get the physical or experimental structures either by X-ray crystallography or NMR spectroscopy. For example, in case of membrane bound proteins. So if that receptor, we know, we have gone through the structure of cell, and we also know about the structure of proteins as well. So there are two types of proteins. One of the receptors are either present in between the cell membrane, and some are present outside the cell membrane. So the receptors which are present in the cell membrane, identifying or isolating such kind of receptors, structures of such kind of receptors is difficult. So it is not possible, what I mean to say is that it is not possible every time to get the structure of the protein or to get the structure of the receptor. Now, why am I saying protein? Because most of the time the target sites, the enzymes or hormones are nothing but the proteins. So as I said, that it is not possible to get every time the structure of protein, and in such circumstances, when you're not able to get the experimental structure or when you're not able to get the physical structure, in that particular situations, we go for the computational techniques. We computationally design the model, we computationally generate the structure of protein, and one of the technique doing that is called as homology modeling. Now, I'll let you know what exactly this technique is. So if you can see, there is a puzzle out there on your screen. And we might have played these puzzles of photographs as well. So what you have to do in the puzzle, you have to add different parts of the puzzle so as to make a complete picture. Now, what if I already number this puzzle? Like I already, these are the puzzles and I already number these puzzles, that this is going to be the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and so on. Then in such cases, it will be very easy for you to just attach those parts of the puzzles in a sequence and get the complete picture. And this is exactly what happens in case of homology modeling. Because if you go through the structure of protein, you'll find out that proteins are nothing but the sequence of amino acids. So if I don't have the structure, the physical structure of protein, but I have the amino acid sequence of that protein, then with the help of a software, I can easily generate the model of a protein by simply adjusting the amino acids one after another. And now, because each amino acid is like a part of the puzzle, each amino acid is having its own structure. Therefore, the software will automatically add the proteins one after another, and it will generate the complete structure of that protein. And obviously there are different things like protein foldings and all those things, but since we are not going into very detail of this technique, and I'm giving you a superficial example. So this is the technique all about. So what we do in computational modeling, we need to know the amino acid sequence of that protein. Now, if your question is how, if I don't have the structure of protein, how would I get the amino acid sequence? So as you know, the central dogma of life, that gene converts into mRNA, that mRNA is translated into amino acids, those triplet codons and all those things. So if you have the structure of gene, then you can easily get the structure, the sequence of amino acids. And most of the genes have, you already know about the Human Genome Project, so most of the genes are already identified. So with the help of that structure of gene, I can get the amino acid sequence. And if I have the amino acid sequence, I simply have to put it into the software, and the software will arrange those amino acids one by one sequentially, and it will give me the structure of a protein. Now, if you can see on your screen, consider I don't like I am working on I am working on a disease, and I found out a target. For example, I am working on HIV, and I found that reverse transcriptase is inhibiting reverse transcriptase enzyme can be an important step. And I went to find out yesterday. Paul Shettiwar sir also told us about different databases. So I went through databases, I went through PDB, I went to UniProt, and I tried to identify, I tried to obtain the structure, the physical structure, the crystal structure, we call that physical structure. So if I try to get the physical structure or crystal structure on the database, and I could not find any crystal structure, then the only option for me to obtain the structure in order to design a new drug according to the structure, in that particular situation, I may go to computationally design the structure of that protein. Now, how would I do that? So as I said, the one thing that I will need, actually I need two things. One is called as the template sequence. The amino acid sequence of the target of the protein which I want to design is called as the target sequence. But in order to build up the target, I actually need the template. So what is the template? Template is actually the matching sequence, the matching sequence. So I'll take the amino acid sequence of the protein. I'll also demonstrate this technique in very short in the next session. So what I have to do, I'll have to get the amino acid sequence of target protein. I will enter this amino acid sequence into a database, and I'll perform a technique which is called as BLAST. And after doing that, performing that technique, or after going through BLAST, I will get some other proteins which are having similar amino acid sequence as that of my target protein. So I'll repeat the technique. It is very simple. The protein that I want to build, I want to computationally design, I need to have its amino acid sequence. Once I have the amino acid sequence of such a protein, then I'll have to look out for crystal structure of having amino acids similar to this protein, and for that I'll go for a similarity search of amino acid sequences, and there are different techniques for that. I'll demonstrate it to you later. So if I find a structure, so for example, consider this is my target sequence. I want to design a protein with this sequence. So I'll take this sequence, I'll do similarity search, and then I will get some other proteins, actual physical structure, crystal structure, which are having the amino acid sequence similar to my target sequence. Now, one thing that in this particular technique, you might not get 100% similarity. So you may get 80% similarity, or you may get 70%, or even below that. So in such cases, it depends upon the resolution of the structure, and it depends upon the percentage of similarity between the structures, and depending upon the percentages, I will select that structure to be the backbone, to be the template of my new structure, which is having much more similarity to my original protein. So in this way, I can design a new protein. So as you can see here, this is my target sequence. By taking the target sequence, I'll search on the databases. I will get the similar sequences of crystal structures. And if I get, for example, if I get a crystal structure or a physical structure which is already existing in the database, so what this software does, this software actually imposes my amino acid sequence on already existing protein, and therefore it generates a new structure or a new protein, which is called as the homology model. So what are the applicability of this structure or of this method? So as I said, I will make it easy for you. So while you are going for any kind of research, any such kind of things, you should be able to select which technique you want to go through. So if you are going for structure-based drug designing, if you want to design, is to get the structure. So I'll try to get the crystal structure first. If I don't get the crystal structure, then what I do, I will okay. So if I don't get the crystal structure in that particular circumstances, I will go for computational designing of the receptor structure. And once I get the computational model, then I'll consider the structure to be the biological model, to be the original protein. And then I'll go for different techniques like in order to identify drugs, I'll go for docking, I'll go for virtual screening. I'll also talk about these techniques a bit later. So in such a cases, this technique can be used. One more thing. If you're working on mutations, then this is a very important thing, and I personally have gone through this particular method. I actually designed the structure of reverse transcriptase enzyme through computational model. Though the structure of reverse transcriptase enzyme was available, the crystal structure, the physical structure was available, but the structure which was available was for the original type of reverse transcriptase enzyme, and I wanted to study on mutations. So what I can do, I can simply change the query sequence. I can simply change the template the target sequence. I can add those amino acids which come after mutation, and then I'll generate a new structure which is having mutations. I'll let you know this thing once we go to the demonstration section. So if you're working on mutations, then this kind of computational technique is very important to you. What softwares you can use for that? You can use for Modeler. But Modeler is completely and command-based software. It does not have a user interface. Therefore, using it might be a bit of troublesome, and you need to have a bit of practice over that. Then an XPC Modeler, it is a online software of Swiss PDB. So you can go to that site and you can simply give your amino acid target sequence, and it will automatically search for the template sequences, and it will automatically build up a model for you. And some other softwares like Chimera, MOE, and some major softwares like Discovery Studio and Schrodinger, they already have these techniques built in. Now, the next technique that we are going to talk about is molecular docking or virtual screening. You have heard about these techniques a lot more time. What is molecular docking? This is simply the matching method. Simply the matching method. Once I have the structure of the receptor, then what I do, I search for the ligand, I search for the small molecule, and I see whether my molecule fits into my receptor or not. If that receptor fits into that molecule, then I'll go for certain parameters, like I'll check whether how is it fixed, whether it is fixed firmly or not, whether it is binding with the receptor very loosely or not, because if my ligand bind with the receptor very loosely, then I won't get the physiological action for a longer period of time. And there is another thing, that if my drug binds with a receptor very firmly, like with covalent bonds, then it is unlikely to get detached from the receptor side. And if my ligand do not get detached from the receptor side, it will be ultimately going to cause me toxicity. So docking method is simply the matching method, matching the fit of small molecule with the receptor. And I use the same technique of docking for virtual screening. Now, you can see a photograph over there. Let me tell you, I'm not here to endorse Katrina Kaif, or I am not here to endorse Lenskart, but the photo that you're seeing is from the Lenskart website. I'll give you an example. If you want to purchase a SPECT, I go to a shop and I will search multiple frames, and each frame I will see by putting it on my face, and I'll see myself on a mirror, and I'll find out whether this frame suits me or not, whether this frame fits at my face particularly in a good manner or not. Now this is called as physical, experimental procedure. But what if I can do the same procedure virtually? Like if I want to purchase a SPECT online, then this Lenskart website, it is having a very good method. What it does, it takes a snapshot of you, it takes your photo, and then you can select multiple frames, multiple SPECTs from their library, and you can select individual photo, individual frame, and then it automatically, what their software does, it whatever the frame you select, it puts that frame into your photo, and you can get the idea of how that photo will look on your face. This is nothing but the virtual screening. And I do the same thing with the receptor and the ligand. So in this example, my photo was nothing but the structure of the receptor, and the multiple frames that I am checking whether they fit on my face, whether they look good on my face or not, they are nothing but the ligands. So I have to select the ligand depending upon the availability of frames, and this availability of frame on their website is nothing but the virtual library. And we are having number of libraries where we are having number of ligand molecules. So I can do one thing. I can put the receptors one by one into my structure, and then a software will tell me which receptor, which small molecule or which drug binds to the receptor in a particular manner, in a suitable manner, and it generates the result in the form of numbers. So here you can see the technique of docking on your screens right now. So if I have this target sequence, it is the target site of my protein, then if I consider this to be the ligand, then simply it is what happens, I'll put this ligand into the target site and I will see whether it fits properly or not. And in this way, if I do it for one or two molecule, I will call this procedure as docking. But what if I want to search number of molecules, or what if I don't have a ligand at all? Now I'll give you an example. You are working on HIV reverse transcriptase. You have got the structure of HIV reverse transcriptase enzyme. You have got the structure of target site, but you don't have the small molecule. You don't have the drug which you actually want to develop for that particular kind of disease. If you want to develop a drug for HIV, so you identified that reverse transcriptase can be a good target. So I got the structure either from the crystal structure, or I generated the structure through computational designing. Now I got the structure, and now I want to search. I want to see whether there is any molecule already available in the market or not. It is very simple thing. Like, see, before actually going to synthesize a molecule and before actually going to design a molecule, what I can see, I can simply search whether there is already existing molecule available in the market which can fit into my receptor or not. So this is called as virtual screening. So what I do, I take number of virtual libraries where they are having number of structures of already existing drugs. Let me make this very clear. In virtual libraries, the structure that we get are the ones which actually physically exist. So if by virtual designing, by virtual screening, if I find any drug ligand which fits particularly or which fits very good to my receptor, then I have an option. I can synthesize that molecule, or I can simply order that molecule because it is already existing molecule, or some or other company might be selling that molecule to you. So it will be more easy for you. Instead of going for synthesis, you can simply order that molecule and you can go for biological testing. So this is nothing but the prediction, and prediction is all that computer-aided drug designing software does. Computer-aided drug designing techniques or software never gives any information in a confirmed manner. What they do, they just provide us predictions. So it is better to have something than nothing, and therefore we use these computer-aided drug designing techniques. So as you can see there, if it is the structure of my receptor, I'll see number of small molecules through the libraries. Yesterday, Polshativar sir also took us to the Zinc library. There are Cambridge database, there are Swiss databases. So there are these virtual libraries of these small molecules, and you can simply put your receptor there and you try to find out from thousands and lakhs of molecules which molecule can show a good interaction with your receptor. So by this technique, I can sort out, I can screen some suitable molecules, and then I can modify those selected molecules. Now, I am saying this, you can do this thing when you're not having a drug molecule, when you're not already working on a molecule. So in that case, to get some molecules, to get some hits, to get some lead molecules to work on, you can use such a technique. One more thing, if you want to understand how this docking works, you need to go through the actual procedure of drug receptor interaction. You need to understand how a drug actually interacts with the receptor. There are different softwares, like there is Autodoc Vina, and there is Chimera, there is MOE. There are also different softwares like Discovery Studio and Schrodinger. All these softwares, they work on different algorithms. And on the basis of that algorithm, what the softwares they search that, for example, consider this blue part in this picture. This blue part is my ligand, and you can see this blue part is interacting with other structures. You can see here, these are nothing but the amino acids of my protein, the amino acids of my receptor sites. So you can see this ligand is interacting with this amino acid with a particular type of interaction. Now this interaction can be hydrogen. We get the information what kind of interaction is it. So consider this is an hydrogen bond interaction, this is an ionic interaction through cation and anion, and this is just for example, consider this is a lipophilic interaction. So in this way, my molecule, because my ligand is nothing but a chemical moiety, and if it is a chemical moiety, then it must have some groups or some functional groups or atoms, and every functional group and atom is having a chemical nature. So what happens, this chemical nature of the drug, it combines or it interacts with my receptor molecule, and depending upon that, what kind of bonds are formed there, what kind of bonds are actually being formed between my ligand and the receptor molecules or the amino acid the amino acids of my receptor, I get a result in terms of numbers. So this is exactly happens in case of virtual screening. Like this thing, there is a ligand and there are multiple amino acids in a binding pocket, and now this ligand forms some or other kind of interaction with my amino acids. So more the number of interaction, more better will be the fit, more better will be the interaction of my drug with the receptor. But remember one thing, once again I am telling you that we need the interactions to be in a specific range. If these interactions, they are very much increased, or they are like covalent bond interactions, if my drug bind covalent bonds with amino acid, then it is unlikely to get detached from the receptor. And if my drug never gets detached from my receptor, then it will ultimately going to cause me toxicity. Now if you can see here, this is the photo from one of the studies that we performed on reverse transcriptase enzyme. So we can also perform docking in this manner as well. So I can, this part, these are actually these actually are the photos of two different receptors. So this is the first or original receptor or the original reverse transcriptase enzyme, and I see we perform docking into that receptor. So we found that in the original receptor, there is a binding pocket in which a receptor can easily undergo and easily can form interaction with one of the amino acid residues, which is called as lysine 101. But what happens once this lysine 101, if it is mutated, now this amino acid is actually responsible for showing the interaction. But consider what actually happens in case of the viruses, they continuously go on mutations. So if this lysine 101 gets mutated and there comes a different type of amino acid, then the amino acid which is actually responsible for forming interaction with the ligand is no more there. So what happens, as I said, we generated a homology model in which we inserted mutated amino acids. So this is the structure of the receptor after mutation, and it does not have lysine 101. It has some other ligand, some other amino acid instead of lysine. So what we found, that there is no such binding space there available. Or you can see here, you can see find out a good binding space is there where the ligand can go and bind. But here there is no such space, because the actual space was occupied, and it is the other side. It is the other side where the same drug is going to bind. So this kind of study you can perform by doing docking, and you can simply see that in this receptor, the binding pocket is different, and the next time after mutation, the binding pocket is different, and the new binding pocket is almost at a distance of 14.46 angstrom units from the previous binding pocket. Now, why this new binding pocket? Because the original binding pocket was actually blocked due to number of mutations. So this kind of study you can also perform with the help of molecular docking. Now, moving on, I'll take you to another technique. Okay, one more thing, where you can perform docking, you can get some free softwares, like there is Autodock Vina. Discovery Studio, however, is a paid version, is a paid software. Then there are softwares like FlexiDock, Glide, Gold, and some other softwares are there. With the help of these softwares, you can perform the docking. Then the next method is molecular dynamics. So before going to explain this thing, we need to understand one thing, that in the actual biological system in our body, no biological molecule, no biomolecule is actually rigid. No biomolecule is actually rigid. Now I am going to differentiate why docking results can be false sometimes. Because when you perform docking, as you see here, when you perform docking, the software considers the ligand sites or the amino acid receptors to be rigid. Now let me tell you, there are two types of docking. One is called as flexible docking and one is called as rigid docking. In flexible docking, you can provide these amino acid residues a degree of flexibility, but even this degree of flexibility is not as compared to the original flexibility of the same biomolecules inside our body. So I performed docking. I got one of the ligands. I got one of the molecule, and that molecule showed good interaction with my receptor. Now, whether I should go for synthesis of that receptor directly. Now, there, I'll repeat the statement that I had the ligand. I went for the docking, and I saw that this ligand, this small structure, it was showing good interaction with my receptor. Now it is going good interaction with my receptor, then it must be it must be able to show biological activity. So should I go for synthesis of this small molecule? Should I go for the synthesis of this ligand? Or is there any other technique which can also allow me to confirm whether this interaction is going to be a proper interaction, a desired interaction or not? And for that, we performed another technique which is called as dynamics, molecular dynamics. And you can hear from the word itself, dynamic, which itself states that study in motion. So as I said, in case of our body, no biological molecule is rigid. Every biological molecule, let it be carbohydrates or proteins or fats, they are continuously moving, because they are surrounded by fluids, they are surrounded by ions, they are surrounded by different components, and therefore they are continuously in motion. And if something is continuous motion, then virtually trying to attach something to it and and thinking that it will work in the body, it might not work properly. So what we do, there is a technique which is called as molecular modeling, molecular dynamics. So before going to molecular dynamics, I'll just show you the video and you'll get the exact understanding what exactly happens inside our body with your drug and with the protein. So please, just a minute, please see this video. Okay, and I'm going to play it again, and now see. This is my drug molecule. When it goes and when it interacts with the receptor, you can see there is flexibility in my drug molecule as well. My drug molecule is also changing the flexibility. The better word for this flexibility will be to use conformations. So what conformation I made this molecule after a particular period of time, when this molecule enters into my body, in my bloodstream, when it goes near to the receptor site, it continuously changes its structure, it continuously changes its conformations. And same is the case with the protein. These amino acids are always also different components of these amino acids are also in motion. So docking actually cannot give me this kind of idea that how my molecule is going to stay in that biological system. And for doing that, I need another technique which is called as molecular dynamics. And I'll explain this technique to you in a bit short way. So as you can see, the molecule is also moving and it is trying to form interaction with the amino acid. Similarly, the protein is also, the amino acids of the protein are also cooperating with the drug molecule by adjusting their conformations. And with the mutual understanding of this drug and the receptor, my drug finally gets bind to the amino acids. And the final conformation that you will see here, now this is the position of my drug. When it is final, I can say it is finally bound with the receptor. And this conformation of the drug will be considered as its minimum energy conformation. Like I'll give you an example. For example, I'm sitting right now and I find myself comfortable. But if I go after a period of time, like after 1 or 2 hours, I won't be able to feel very much comfortable in this field. I won't be feel very relaxed to maintain this gesture and posture, because after a particular period of time, my body will have to spend energy to maintain this gesture and posture. And therefore, after a particular period of time, I'll stand up. And when I stand up, I change my conformation. And this exactly the same thing happens when a drug enters in our body. It continuously changes its conformation so that it can adjust in a biological environment and take such a conformation which is going to be very comfortable for it, and it will not have to spend a lot of energy to maintain that conformation. So what molecular dynamic does, as you can see here, so here I have made a box-like structure where it is having, it is also called as simulations. So I have generated my the environment of the biological fluid which is present inside my body, and then in that fluid I actually inserted my protein and my ligand, the complex of my protein and ligand. I inserted that complex into that biological environment, and now I am going to see what kind of conformational changes are going to take place inside the biological environment with protein and with ligand. And with this technique, I can also find whether the same ligand which showed me a good interaction with my protein, whether that ligand is actually stable in original biological conditions or not. And let me tell you one thing once again, that these all things are computational. So these are just giving us an idea. There is no confirmation. So these are nothing but predictions that how would that drug will perform inside the body, and how that drug performs inside the body, that can only be accessed after going for the assessment of biological activity of that molecule. Now you can see here there is a graph like thing which is there, and this graph says or tells me the energy profile of my drug, of my molecule with respect to the protein. And now you can see that initially this energy goes on increasing, which means that my molecule is not stable. It is not able to get the minimum energy conformation, and it is not bound. So, and from this energy profile, I can say that my molecule is not comfortable. Its energy is high. It is not comfortable. And if it is not comfortable, then it is more likely to get detached from the active site. But after a particular period of time, here you can see the time in picoseconds. So after a particular period of time, I can see the energy profile is getting stabilized. So from this energy profile, I can suggest that after a particular period of time, definitely my molecule is finding a conformation or a position where it is going to get more comfortable with the receptor. And at the end, if I find it stable, or if I find the graph moving down, then I can say that that my molecule is might be comfortable with the active site. And in that case, for such kind of studies, we use molecular dynamics. So if you want good results out of your studies, so after performing virtual screening or after performing molecular docking, whatever the conformation, the drug receptor complex that you are having, go for the dynamics. If you go for the dynamics, then you'll at least have an idea how this drug receptor complex, which is actually rigid or very strictly flexible, how this drug receptor complex will actually behave in the biological environment. Now the time is running. I have very less time. So I'll quickly move to the next technique, which is called as de novo designing or de novo generation. Now it is also a type of docking study. And let me tell you one thing, that docking or this de novo designing, this type of techniques are only possible if you are having the structure of the receptors. If you don't have the structure of receptor, you cannot go for molecular docking. You cannot go for virtual screening the way I said you. There is also another type of virtual screening, which is more like pharmacophore screening. I'll come to that later if I get the time. So we'll talk about another technique, which is called as de novo designing. So like I said, I got the target site. So I have two methods. I don't have the drug. I don't have the small molecules. I want to find a small molecule which will be suitable for my receptor. So I have the structure of receptor, but I don't have the small molecule. I don't have the drug molecule to work on, to modify the structure of. So I have two approach. I can go for virtual screening, as I just explained. What virtual screening will do, it will try to identify already existing molecules from the virtual databases. As I said, these molecules are already synthesized. They are existing molecules. So you already have the ADME profile of those molecules as well. Now what you are doing, you are trying to find out whether these molecules are suitable for your receptor or not. But there is another condition. What if you don't find any comfortable molecule from the databases? It is also a possibility that you don't find any satisfactory molecule from the virtual screening, from the databases. You have gone through a number of databases and you don't find a single molecule, a single ligand which is showing satisfactory results with your receptor. Now in that case, how will you modify a drug, or how will you generate a drug? And so in such a conditions, we are having another technique which is called as de novo designing. So how will you do that? So you can see a diagram over your screen. Now this de novo designing is a very simple approach, and it also depends upon our our understanding of drug receptor interaction. So for example, as I said, in every drug, there are some atoms or groups of atoms which are actually responsible for forming interaction with the receptor, and the rest of the thing is going to provide its support. Like just an example of that will be the chassis or the chassis that we call. So the chassis of a vehicle is actually the backbone, and on that chassis I can attach different things, and that things together will make a vehicle. So the same thing we can do with de novo designing. If I have the structure of receptor, if I have the structure of target site, then I will know what kind of different groups or atoms I am in need. For example, consider this part. This is a lipophilic region of my receptor or aromatic region of my receptor. So if I want my drug to interact with this region, then I must be, I will need a structure, or I will need a chemical moiety which shows aromatic interaction with this particular ring. So what I do, or what the software does, it actually automatically decides an aromatic ring, and it places the aromatic ring right there in that lipophilic pocket. So I got one interaction. Now let us consider this part, this other part. Now consider there is a group of my amino acid which can form hydrogen bonding. At this particular position, there is a group at my amino acid of the receptor which can form hydrogen bonding. So in that case, I will need a structure which can easily form, or I will need an atom like NH2 group, like amine group. So one of the hydrogen from that amine group can form hydrogen bond with this particular group of my amino acid. So what I am doing, I am selecting fragments. According to the interactions required at the receptor site. So for this, what I do, or what the software does, it searches for different fragments for respective interaction, and then what I will do, I'll go for the welding of these fragments, and I'll attach all these fragments with a single structure. And this is the same thing what happens here. So if you can see here, so this is the structure of my receptor. These are different points of interactions of receptors. According to the points of interaction, the software selects chemical compounds or chemical moieties. It places those chemical moieties randomly into that space, and then after, once all the interaction sites have been occupied, I am going to link all these moieties together, and I'll get a drug-like structure. So this technique, when I design a drug with this technique, this is called as de novo generation. But the problem with the de novo generation is that, as I said, in case of docking or virtual screening also considers your receptor to be rigid, but there is an option to provide a bit flexibility to your receptor in docking. But in de novo designing, most of the cases, in most of the softwares, the software considers your binding pocket to be completely rigid, one thing. And other thing, by doing this method, you're not actually searching for existing drugs like you did in the virtual screening. By this method, what you are doing, you are designing your own moiety. Now what is the problem with designing your own moiety? The very problem will be that you will not having the ADME profile. You will not having any idea regarding how this new molecule, which you just synthesized by the process of de novo designing, you won't be having any idea how this molecule is going to react in my body. And if you want to get further predictions how this molecule will going to interact in your body, then you'll have to go through some softwares which are specifically made for PK/PD studies. Like one of the softwares is given by the company called as Certara. When I was at CDRI, they also used to make the softwares for molecular modeling as well. There was a software called as Sybil. Now they don't make that software. They have purely gone for PK/PD profiles, and they provide softwares for PK/PD analysis. So if you are going to design a new drug molecule by this kind of technique, so the point is that you will not be having the ADME profile. You don't know how this drug is going to interact with your body. But if you go for virtual screening, the technique I just explained earlier, in that technique, because you're going for already existing molecule, so you're having an already existing knowledge of how these molecules are going to act inside your body. At least you're having their ADME profile. But for these newly generated molecules, the molecule that you have just generated by de novo designing, they're not already existing molecule. You have designed a new molecule, and therefore the existing knowledge of this newly designed molecule is not possible, will not be possible, and therefore the only way to get the profile of such molecules will either you'll have to go for predictions, or you can get the exact idea only after biological synthesis, only after chemical synthesis, and only after checking the biological activity. So this is actually an issue with de novo designing. And as you can see, there are different fragments. As I said, all these fragments, all these chemicals are having particular nature, and the software selects these kind of structures depending upon the requirement at the interaction site, or depending upon the requirement at the amino acid, where they are going to interact with each other, or they are going to bind, they are going to form a bond with each other. So this software arranges such kind of fragments, and then it attaches these fragments with the help of such kind of linking moiety. And by using these two kinds of chemical moieties, you go and you'll be able to generate a new molecule. So this is all about the de novo designing. And as I said, it is also the technique which comes under structure-based drug designing, and it can only be performed if you are having the structure of protein, like if you are having crystal structure, physical structure of protein, or you are having the computational structure of protein. But you'll be able to perform such kind of techniques only in circumstances, only in conditions where you are having the structure of target site or the structure of protein. If you don't have the structure of protein, you will not be able to go for docking, you would not be able to go for virtual screening, and you would not be able to go for de novo designing, because all these techniques, they depend upon the information of the structure or the information at structure site. The next thing that we are going to talk about is the pharmacophore mapping. Now this is kind of a recent thing which is there in the market. Now the techniques which I am going to tell you hereafter, for these kind of drug designing, you don't need the structure of receptor. As I said, in most of the cases, there is no possibility that you get the structure, either computational structure or the physical structure. So suppose you are working on a disease where you have no structure of the receptor site. So in that case, how will you perform the drug discovery, or how will you modify, how will you develop a drug? Now consider the same example. You are going to design anti-malarial drugs, and you don't have the structure of the target site, but you know that cinchonine or quinidine, it acts on, it shows a particular type of activity against malaria. So in this case, though I do not have the structure of receptor site, I do not have the structure of the enzyme, I do not have the structure of the target, but I know that quinidine shows activity. Quinidine shows activity, it has biological activity against malaria. And if it is having biological activity against malaria, then it must be acting to some or other enzyme. Though I don't have the structure of the enzyme, still I know that quinidine is responsible for showing activity. So if quinidine can show activity, then I can search for similar structures, then I can search for structures which are similar to quinidine, and then I can assume that if these structures are similar to quinidines, these structures or these ligands or these molecules should also show the same activity as that of quinidine. So this kind of activity and this kind of the hypothesis is there for indirect drug designing, or it is called as ligand based drug designing, because in this method I design or I modify drugs which are not based upon the structure of the receptor. So when I do not have the knowledge of structure of receptor, in that conditions I select such a techniques where I take help of existing moieties, and with that help, I modify those, I sort out some existing moieties. I'll let you know how to sort out the existing moieties. And once I found some good moieties which are having resemblance with the already existing moieties, and then I'll go for the modification of those moieties, and I'll go for the biological testing, because that would only be the possible option to me. I'll explain this technique in the next session, where I'll talk about the pharmacophore mapping in a very short manner, in a very brief manner, and we'll also talk about QSAR. Simultaneously, if possible, I'll show you some demonstrations as well. So we'll stop for this session for now, and I would request you to save the questions for the later session.